Hey friends, this is a look at the Lumibricks Steampunk Time Rift Library, set number 11012 with 3,187 pieces. In this video, we're going to look at the box. We're going to see what we can discern about what the model actually looks like. And then we're going to look at the parts, we'll look at the instructions, look at the special parts as well as the lighting kit and what's inside the lighting kit. And we'll be able to get a preview of what it'll be like to build this if you want to spend your money and your time to get it. And then in a separate video, I will review the completed model and we'll take a look at that and review it together. All right, so starting off with the box, it is the typical box with the beautiful photography. I think they've changed up their set numbers. They usually start with like an L or some other letter. This one does not, so that's kind of our first. So what we're seeing here is something that is intended to be sitting on a shelf, and they made it so that you could play with everything from the front of it. So there's some action features that are activated by gears and by levers, and those are all available and accessible from the front. Plus the entire back side of this model lifts out and can be used to hold books in place. Okay, so we're looking at a multi-story structure in a steampunk style. It is a library called the Chrono Library, and something has happened at the Chrono Library that has created a rift in time and space, and it has it may or may not be reversible. There's a bunch of different characters. They don't have names, but each character has a role and they have an opinion and they have a quote. And I think that's a great way to just give you a jumping off point to make your own story. This is part of the Steampunk World series. It comes with, I want to say, 4 figures. You can see here it has a little character in a time machine that's inspired by, I want to say, the H.G. Wells Time Machine book. One of the characters is also translucent, and there is another character here called the author. We'll take a closer look at him. And then there is a statue with a cracked face, and so we'll look at that. The structure has a lot of stuff happening up in front. It's almost like, you know, the It's a Small World building where there's lots of stuff moving and things happening, and almost in a almost poltergeisty way, stuff is moving and spinning. You can kind of imagine a lot of motion, like this bookcase is kind of, you know, off kilter there. There's a book just kind of hanging in space. There's an hourglass as well. And some of the features that I was able to discern include a pendulum here that can be remotely moved back and forth. This up here can be spun around this particular dish, and the actuator is right there. And then there is a knob hidden here behind the statue. And when you turn that knob, in the back there's a almost like a curtain, a crack that opens up on the inside of the structure. So we'll take a look at that as well. All right, and of course it comes with lights. Full lighting kit is included in there. Here's some close-up of some of the things, including that time machine. And then here's how they kind of intend for you to display it on your bookshelf, and it has a library theme, which I think is clever. This right here is the entire back half of it, and it's separated out. You can pull it out and you can display it separately. All right, so that's a look at the box and what you're expecting there. As far as the bags go, this is bag 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14. And these are all Lego compatible parts. Everything is printed. I'll give you an example of some of the printing you're going to see. Here is some of the glass, and the glass actually has these nice ornate etchings in them. Here's an example of a banner. You can think of this as a banner that you'd see on the outside of a library or a museum. I think this is on the outside. It might be on the inside. I may be mistaken. There's more decorations like this. This is part of the really large doors that you see in the front of it. What else we got? I remember seeing, here's a bunch of colors, probably to build up a bookcase. And bag 8 had a couple more of these little prints. You can see those right there. Uh, there's like Da Vinci, Da Vinci's illustrations, some other illustrations there. Yeah, so for the most part, we're looking at parts that are familiar. You'll recognize them from Lego's catalog, and the colors are familiar colors. Lumibricks used to have a very, very light gray, but I don't see any of that in here. Looks like they're kind of sticking to the normal color palette on this. And Lumibricks does have some parts like this, which that have extra curves in it. You'll see that from time to time, including another bag that all it has is specialized parts to run the wiring. So you see with these particular parts, they all have grooves in the tops and bottoms, so you can run wiring through them. That's one of those bricks that you can run wire right through it. And then this large plate here, or rather, it's like a plastic piece. This is meant to have light come through behind, and this is the image that you'll see when the time rift is cracked open. This is what is revealed behind it. It's books and this kind of design showing what's happening with the books, sort of like time. You're looking through, and there's a crack through time, and it's affecting written books, and there's a staircase as well there too. Cool. And then as far as characters go, there's at least 4 of them. One of them is a translucent woman. And with Lumibricks, of course, you have to press the hands into the arms into the torsos, and then the legs into the hips, and the hips into the torso as well. And the first time you do it, it's going to be a little bit difficult, but after that, you'll get the hang of it. Not too hard. There is also one bag specifically for plates. So there's the large plates here. So before we go into the instructions, we'll look at the light kit real quick. So typical light kit has a safety precaution sheet. It's got 2 bags of parts so that you're only opening up the parts you need as you go. And then it has this box that was new. I don't think I've ever gotten a Lumi kit set with a box in it before. But what this is a light strip, like it's a flexible LED strip with an adhesive back, and you peel the adhesive or you peel the paper off of it, and then you can then apply it to part of the model. So it's like a sticky back thing, and there's 2 of them. And I'm not sure where the 2 go. I know the location of at least one of them, which is behind the time rift, that blue panel I showed you. But I'm not sure why this is in a box, because I do believe I've seen this type of thing packed in envelopes before, but I have the feeling maybe that damaged them, or there might have been something going on, or maybe they got folded that actually could damage them too. So putting them in this little protective case is a nice touch. And then there is a battery box. This is probably 3 AAA or AA. It doesn't say, but you can you plug the model into here, and then there's an on-off switch. And then as usual, you get a screwdriver specifically for the battery box. You don't need this for any of the wiring. And then you get a metal set of matte black nice tweezers, and this is to help you with the wiring and putting the little white clips into the hubs and connecting things. And it's also handy if you drop a piece or you need help grabbing a piece that maybe fell into the build. That's kind of nice. All right, so that's the light kit. You get 3 instruction books, and they space it out a little bit nicer than I've seen before, because sometimes the books are actually really too thick, but these are kind of easier to handle. As usual, you can scan a QR code and get the instructions that way. So here's a look at the back of the 4 characters, some great photography, and it talks about the Rift event that happened. So this is basically a story starter to let you start thinking, okay, what's going on in this world? What's happened? So I'll let you pause and read that if you'd like to. It's kind of cool. And I like that they're not too prescriptive about the story. They don't say, this is the name of the character, this is exactly what happened, so you can make it up as you go, and they leave a lot of room for you to figure out how the different characters fit in. So this one, he's named the Chrono Spy. This is the worn out sculpture. This is the mysterious author, and he has like an animal face, almost looks like a bear, like a teddy bear. He's the mysterious author. And one of the things I wondered why they had an author in there, and it's because his one quote is, this is not how I wrote the book." So that adds a lot of intrigue, I think, to it. He's basically saying something has changed in the timeline because books I wrote are not the way I wrote them. So that's kind of a cool touch. There's the time machine inventor with that time machine. Here's a look at some of the major prints that you get in this set. So there's actually like a steampunk dinosaur. How cool is that? And there's a robot. I think these are parts for the door, Chrono Library sign, some of the different dishes that you get. That's all pretty cool. And then a look at the back half. This is the part that splits open. And then there's that bookcase that is up in the front, kind of at an angle. And so you can see some of the features in here. This is the dish that you can turn right up at the top of there. And then this is the gear you turn to make that pendulum swing. They point out that there is an orrery right here as well. And then they point out, in order to make this slide open, make these things part open and create that time rift, there is a knob right here, and that knob is what causes it to happen, and you can do it from the front. All of those things can be done from the front, which I think is a really cool feature for this. It means that you can play with it without pulling it out of the shelf. Here's what you get in the lighting. The reason I didn't go into every envelope is these are pretty standard pieces for them as far as lights go and hubs and connectors. So if you've built a Lumibricks set before, these should look really familiar to you. And those are the two. I guess this is all bag number 3. That white or that clear box was bag number 3. I think that's probably the way that they've thought of it. If you're buying this set anyway, you probably have built a Lumibricks set before in the past. Because at the price point, you're probably not going to jump straight to it. And then as you start to build up the characters, they tell you a little bit more about them. You get a nice big picture of that character. Here's the inventor with his time machine. Here is the author. Check out that face. It really does look like maybe a cat. It looks maybe more like a cat. And so for this first book, you're basically building the first floor. And so there is a lot of structure there. You can see starting to put in some of the lights. And as usual, they tell you how to run the lights, which is really nice. Yeah, so you're building most of that first floor. A lot of piping, windows, bay windows. Oh, I see. So these banners that we saw, they are on the inside facing the back of the model. So you may not even see those unless you pull the back wall off. Then there's something to look at. So that's kind of nice. All right, so that's book 1. Book 2, you get into, I want to say, book 2, you're building out the rest of that first floor, and you might be building up the upper area that's in green. So there are little sitting areas you can see on the inside. So it looks like you can see those either through the windows. Yep, you can see them through the windows. So it gives some detail and interest as you're looking through the windows. There's the orrery there. And lots more gears. These gears here are actually functional. This is the actuator to make this pendulum swing back and forth. And starting to add even more detail as we go through. Here's the statue. And I saw a quote earlier on. It said that this statue, he was damaged so badly in the rift that his hat ended up in bag 8, which is true. Here's bag 8, and his hat is in bag 8. Strange detail, but hey, that's kind of cool that they did that. So that's the reason his hat doesn't show up until you're most of the way through the build, is because the time rift caused so much damage. And so in a way, they're breaking the fourth wall and saying, look, we're playing with the time for the builder's world as well, which I think is kind of clever. And this is one of the modules that can pull out. This one here can pull out of the back. And then the last book I want to say is all the time rift, or there's a roof and the time rift, I want to say. Let's see. Or is it just the roof? Maybe it's just the roof. Okay. So a lot of that dark green. It's really nice. And the mechanism to turn that dish. And I think we do build out that back section. Yeah, we do. Okay. So it's showing, here's how it works right here. So here's the back view. There's some gears so that as you turn the gear, both of them move at the same time. So there's an axle that transfers that motion to each side of the bookshelf, and then the bookshelf cracks open. And then when it cracks open, this is what you see. And there's a light behind it. One of those light strips is behind it. So I think it should be pretty cool looking when it's done. Here is the ladder, and it actually slides back and forth on these axles. This is not motorized as far as I can tell, but you can just push it back and forth to enjoy it and have your characters get to the books. So here they're saying, here's how you push it all into place. And notice there's a connector there. So once you push it in place, then this connector transfers power to the lighting that's inside of here. And then it closes up. And if you want to activate it, you turn this knob, and then it will transfer all the motion through to the back. And then let's take a look and see what they have you do with the battery box. Oh, it looks like you just stick it onto the back here. It doesn't get hidden. Instead, it's just attached to the back of the build. So I guess you still have to reach around to the back to turn the batteries on and off. And then it's saying that there is this panel that you can pull off, this window, and the time machine can get stored in there if you want to. I think that's what that's saying. And it also has, this is interesting, the time machine can be tethered to that bookcase if you want it to be. All right. And then it tells you what direction to turn that crank to open or close the time rift. Okay, so lots to it. Then some of the other things in the Steampunk. Lots to it. I think this is a bit of an innovation for them to build something that primarily is meant to be displayed and enjoyed from the front and sit on a bookshelf. I think that is an unusual thing for Lumibricks, so I like it. I like when they try stuff that's new, and I think it'll be successful. It is more shallow than I originally thought it would be, but that makes sense. Not everybody's shelf is super deep, and it has extra functionality, and of course lots of narrative opportunities for you to make up your own stories and enjoy your own adventure. Okay, I hope you found that helpful. If you liked the video, please hit like. And if you could subscribe, that would mean a lot to me. And you'll be one of the first to know when the full review is up. Okay, thanks so much.